My dear friends, it was an honor accorded to Caesar and to his delegates, an honor of worldly authority and recognition of his power. For wherever Caesar went, his feet would never touch the ground, but before him, cloaks and branches of trees, and in this case palms, would be laid in the street as a sign of submission and authority and power. Today, that honor was accorded to Jesus as he entered into the city of David, the city of his father. For the crowd, in their mistaken enthusiasm, welcomed a liberator, a guardian, one who would use the means of this world to set them free from the Caesar to whom they owed their allegiance. Jesus, throughout his ministry, by his teaching and his miracles, reveals a kingdom, but not the kingdom that this world would understand. A kingdom that would lead him freely on the road you and I are called to walk with him this week, to Calvary. A kingdom that lives in true love, in self-sacrifice, in making choices for the good of those around us, and in our own case, for our own sake, to free us from sin and death. Christ would choose to freely allow himself, he who is the creator and the authority above all things, to be bruised, whose body would be broken and nailed to the wood of the cross, and to die, so that you and I may have eternal life. For you see, my friends, you and I gather today as part of that crowd. This world does not yet understand that which Christ has come to bring. And in this time of great suffering, in this time when so many of our sisters and brothers have been afflicted and are suffering, you and I, perhaps for the first time, can glimpse in so many different lives the meaning of the kingdom that was born on Calvary. For rather than look for the power that this world can offer, which oftentimes is helpless before so simple a virus, and yet look upon the heroic love of our doctors and nurses and emergency medical technicians who battle the virus not with any means of this world, but by their self-sacrificial love, to be able to put their lives at risk so that others who are already at risk may find healing and recovering. You see, my friends, those individuals, as ordinary as you and I, they shine in our midst as those in the crowds who did not take the palms, but walked and understood what Jesus was about. Think of the women and men who are at the front lines now, even in our grocery stores, in our supermarkets, at our gas stations. They have always been the unspoken heroes, but now they too literally are risking their lives so that we might have food and drink and the necessities that allow us to continue our life in this time of crisis. You see, they understand what Christ brought into Jerusalem, and they're living it in our midst as signs of hope, as agents of a new kingdom. This week, we will live Holy Week in a very different way. You and I are separated, And in that quiet and isolation, perhaps we have a unique opportunity to spend time with Jesus and allow his words to penetrate deeply within your heart and mind, to allow his words of forgiveness and the whispers in your heart and mind that we are his disciples when we love without cost, when we love in sacrifice, when we love for the sake of the other and not necessarily for what we might receive in return. You see, my friends, we will not receive palms this Sunday. Please God, we will be able to bless them and will distribute them later, if God wills, on the Feast of Pentecost, the last day of Easter. But whenever we receive them, remember what they represent. And remember that it is before Ash Wednesday that all of the palms in our possession are burned to a crisp, to dust. For what they promise, they cannot deliver. What they promise does not give life. What they promise will end in dust. And what seems to be defeat and failure on Calvary is the light and life that will set us free. So perhaps this year, by not receiving them, our choice is made easier, for our eyes are fixed on the one who will free us, heal us, grant us recovery, grant us healing, and will lead us to an empty tomb and one day to everlasting life.